Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're doing something really fascinating. We are taking an ancient epic, the Mahabharata, and we're translating it into a high-stakes, modern intelligence briefing. We're going to dig into the timeless dynamics of power, persuasion, and leadership. Right off the bat, let's dive into this massive question posed by the wise advisor Vidura to his king Dhritarashtra. I mean, think about it. Why risk absolutely everything in a brutal, unpredictable war when you can just talk it out? It's the ultimate pitch for diplomacy, especially when the odds are completely stacked against you. Vidura is asking a fundamental question of statecraft here. If you can get what you want through peace, why on earth would you court destruction? To see exactly how this masterclass in persuasion is constructed, we're going to look at 5 strategic pillars. First, the value of wise counsel. Second, assessing the Pandava thread. Third, the power of strategic alliances. Fourth, winning the public's favor. And finally, the cost of foolish ambition. All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the value of wise counsel. Before Vidura even mentions armies or battlefields, he has to tackle a really core issue. Who is the king actually listening to? Vidura draws a super sharp contrast here. On one side, you've got these elder statesmen, right? Guys like Bhishma and Drona, who are telling the king the hard, uncomfortable truth. But because it's not what the king wants to hear, he's just ignoring them. On the other side, you've got ministers offering crooked advice just to flatter the boss. So it turns out the toxic yes man is definitely not a modern invention. The point is, before you can plot military strategy, a leader really has to audit their own inner circle. True counselors are seasoned by time and experience. They view situations completely impartially without playing favorites. They hold themselves to this incredibly high virtuous standard, like the legendary figures Rama and Gaia. If your advisors are just validating your worst biases because they're tempted by wealth or power, well, they're leading you straight off a cliff. Moving right along to Section 2, assessing the Pandava threat. So, Vidura hits the king with a terrifying dose of reality. The military intelligence here is just insurmountable. Each Pandava brother presents a completely unique tactical nightmare. You've got Arjuna, ambidextrous and practically invincible. You've got Bhima bringing this apocalyptic physical strength. You've got the highly lethal twins. And at the very top, the eldest, Yudhishthira, whose supreme weapon is this unshakable combination of patience, mercy, and truth. It's a perfectly balanced, utterly terrifying enemy command structure. Let's just pause on this one metric for a second. The raw might of 10,000 elephants. I mean, wow. You have to realize that isn't just epic poetry. It's cold, hard military intelligence. Vidura is looking the king in the eye and saying, do not underestimate the sheer overwhelming kinetic force we are up against here. Which brings us to Section 3, the power of strategic alliances. Beyond just individual strength, Vidura maps out a literal geopolitical nightmare for the king. Honestly, the Pandavas have practically won the war before it even starts. Just look at this coalition. They've got Rama and Krishna as counselors, they've got Satyanki, plus they have these incredibly strong familial alliances with King Dhritarashtra and his heroic sons. Vidura specifically reminds the king that they had formerly warred with Dhritarashtra, making it crystal clear that fighting him again, especially alongside this massive new coalition, would be absolute suicide. And then, Vidura drops this definitive statement to shatter any remaining delusions of victory. The equation he presents is brilliantly simple. Where Krishna is, victory is. Because Krishna aligns with the Pandavas, victory naturally aligns with the Pandavas. It is a total checkmate argument designed to completely shut down the pro-war voices in the room. Okay, Section 4, winning the public's favor. Having totally established that swords won't work, Vidura very cleverly shifts gears to public relations. Remember the notorious Act of Purachana, that infamous assassination attempt? Well, that created a massive kingdom-wide PR crisis for the king, a severe moral stain on his legacy. Vidura pitches peace here not as a surrender, but as the ultimate crisis management strategy. He's essentially saying, look, you have a reputational disaster on your hands, and diplomacy is literally the only way to wash this stain away. So he outlines a clear 3-step roadmap to redemption. By halting the military aggression, showing genuine kindness to the Pandavas, and protecting the social order, the king can transform his image overnight. He goes from being seen as a potential tyrant to a benevolent protector in the eyes of a public that already loves the Pandavas. It's a masterstroke pivot from a looming military disaster to a massive political victory. And finally, Section 5, the cost of foolish ambition. The argument slows down here as Vidura delivers his ultimate dire warning. This is the classic fatal flaw in leadership, discarding the advice of seasoned veterans for the comforting echoes of ambitious flatterers. Vidura explicitly calls out Duryodhana, Karna, and Shakuni as sinful, foolish, and young. He's pleading with the king to recognize that these young men are blinded by their own egos. They're entirely willing to drag the whole kingdom into an unwinnable war just to feed their own ambition. We're going to leave you with this chilling final thought to reflect upon today. Vidura reminds the king that he actually warned him about this long ago, that humoring these selfish whims would result in the extermination of his own subjects. So how often do modern leaders risk total ruin just because they prefer the comforts of foolish ambition over the cold, hard truth? True leadership requires listening to the impartial voices that tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.